The phone vibrated once on the silent dining table, and that single sound felt louder than thunder in the sleeping house. Ayesha almost ignored it until she saw the sender's name and felt a strange chill crawl up her spine. It was a voice message from Baba, a man who never recorded messages and barely trusted phones. Rain hammered against the windows, and the lights flickered just enough to make the shadows tremble. Her fingers hovered over the screen as an uneasy feeling settled deep inside her chest. The house smelled of fresh tea, yet the warmth suddenly felt fake. She pressed play, expecting something ordinary, perhaps a reminder or a blessing. Instead, two familiar voices filled the room, speaking in low, urgent tones as if they were hiding from the world. Within seconds, her heartbeat began to race because the conversation was never meant for her ears. And before the message even ended, Ayesha realized she had just heard something that would destroy her family forever. This voice message was sent by accident. It destroyed a family. The phone vibrated once on the glass dining table, a soft, harmless sound. Yet in the silent house, it felt loud enough to crack the walls. Ayesha looked up from the half-cut vegetables. Rain tapped steadily against the kitchen window. The smell of ginger and garlic floated through the warm air. For a moment, everything felt ordinary, safe, predictable. She wiped her wet hands on her apron and walked toward the phone. The screen glowed. One new voice message from Baba, her father. Law never sent voice notes. Never. He believed messages were for impatient people. He preferred direct words, eye to eye, or silence, mostly silence. Ayesha hesitated before pressing play. The house hummed with the low sound of the refrigerator. Somewhere upstairs, a door creaked slowly as it settled into its frame. She tapped the message. Static whispered through the speaker. Then voices emerged. Familiar voices. Her husband, Hamza, and Baba. Neither of them knew the phone was recording. Hamza spoke first. His tone was sharp, cold in a way she had never heard before. "Did you tell her?" A pause followed, long enough for the rain to grow louder. Baba answered quietly, "No. She must never know." Ayesha frowned. Her thumb hovered over the screen, but she could not stop listening. Hamza exhaled heavily. "You promised me this would stay buried." Buried. The words slid down her spine like melting ice. Baba's voice trembled. "I had no choice that night." A chair scraped across the floor in the recording. The harsh sound made her flinch. Hamza lowered his voice. "If she finds out that her brother never ran away." Ayesha's breath caught. The kitchen seemed to tilt. Her brother, Imran, gone for 12 years. Vanished without a trace. Her mother had died waiting for him to return. Baba continued, "You were the one driving." The rain slammed harder against the glass. Each drop sounded like a ticking clock. Hamza whispered, almost angrily, "It was an accident." Ayesha pressed her hand against the table to steady herself. The wood felt suddenly cold. Too cold. Baba spoke again. "We should have called the police." "You said no," Hamza snapped. "You said our family name would be destroyed." The recording filled with heavy breathing. Someone poured a drink. Liquid splashed into a glass. Ayesha's ears rang. She remembered that night. A storm just like this one. Imran had left the house after an argument. He never returned. No body, no clues, only endless waiting. On the recording, Baba whispered something that shattered the air around her. The river carried the car for hours before it sank deeper. The knife slipped from Ayesha's hand and clattered onto the tile. She did not feel it fall. She did not feel anything. Hamza spoke again. "We checked the trunk twice." Silence followed. A silence thick enough to suffocate. Then Baba said the words that split her world in two. He was still breathing. The rain stopped suddenly, as if the sky itself was listening. Ayesha could hear her heartbeat pounding inside her ears. Slow, violent, impossible to ignore. Hamza's voice cracked. "You told me to leave him. I told you we would go to prison," Baba replied. "You had just married her. Everything would have ended. Everything would have ended." Ayesha tasted metal in her mouth. She realized she had bitten her own lip. Warm blood spread across her tongue. Hamza whispered, almost pleading, "We were young. He was dying anyway." Baba answered with a fragile whisper, "You do not know that." The recording shifted. Footsteps echoed. A door shut. Then Hamza spoke again, lower than before. "Delete this conversation." "I will," Baba said. "After tonight, we never speak of it again." The message ended. The kitchen felt enormous, too bright, too quiet. Ayesha stood frozen, her fingers trembling around the phone. Her husband had killed her brother. left him to drown in darkness, and then married her. She heard the front gate open, metal groaned softly. Hamza was home. Panic crawled up her throat. Her legs refused to move. The doorknob turned. He stepped inside, shaking rain from his jacket. His smile appeared automatically, warm, practiced. "Dangerous you are still awake," he said gently. She stared at him. Every familiar feature now looked unfamiliar, like a mask she had never noticed before. "Why are you looking at me like that?" Her voice came out thin, fragile. "I received a message." Hamza froze, only for a fraction of a second. But she saw it, the flicker of terror in his eyes. "What message?" She pressed play again. The voices filled the kitchen. Neither of them spoke while it played. Color drained slowly from his face. When it ended, the silence roared louder than thunder. He took one step toward her. "Ayesha, listen to me." She stepped back. Her heel slid on the tile. "Do not come closer." His voice softened. "It was an accident. You left him," she whispered. Her throat burned. "You heard everything," he said. "Not a question, a surrender." Tears blurred her vision, but she refused to look away. "You watched him die." Hamza ran both hands through his hair. "I was terrified." "So you married his sister?" The words sliced through the air. He flinched. "I loved you." A broken laugh escaped her chest. "Love does not bury the truth underwater." Footsteps approached from the hallway. Baba stood there, his face pale, eyes wide with horror. "I sent it to you by mistake," he whispered. No one moved. The house seemed to hold its breath. Ayesha looked at him slowly. "You ate at my table. You blessed our marriage. You watched me mourn my brother." Baba's lips trembled. "I wanted to confess many times, but cowardice is a heavy chain." Hamza stepped forward again. "We can fix this." "Fix?" she repeated. "How do you fix 12 years of lies?" Lightning flashed through the window. For a second, their shadows stretched across the walls like strangers. Then darkness returned. Aisha's chest tightened. A memory surfaced. Imran laughing in the courtyard, teaching her how to ride a bicycle, promising he would always protect her. Her knees weakened. She gripped the table. "You let me believe he abandoned us." Hamza's voice cracked. "I believed silence was mercy. Silence was cruelty," she said. Baba sank into a chair. The wood groaned beneath him. "The car is still there," he muttered. "At the bottom of the river." Ayesha looked up sharply. "Where?" Neither man answered immediately. "Where?" she repeated, louder. Hamza whispered the location. "A remote bend far outside the city. A place fishermen rarely visited." The room spun gently, not from dizziness, from the weight of truth finally surfacing. Sirens wailed faintly in the distance, or maybe it was only the wind. Ayesha picked up her phone again. Her fingers hovered over the emergency number. Hamza's eyes widened. "If you call them, everything ends." She met his gaze. "It ended 12 years ago." Baba began to cry softly, a dry, broken sound. "I destroyed both of you," he whispered. Ayesha pressed the call button. Her hand did not shake anymore. Voices echoed through the speaker as the line connected. Hamza slid down into a chair, staring at nothing. The mask had finally fallen away. Minutes later, red and blue lights painted the walls. Neighbors peeked through curtains. Doors opened quietly along the street. Questions drifted through the rain-washed night. Officers stepped inside, calm, professional, unaware they were walking into 12 years of buried horror. Hamza did not resist when they cuffed his wrists. He looked at Ayesha only once. Regret flooded his eyes, but regret arrived far too late. Baba whispered prayers under his breath as they led him out. The house emptied slowly. Silence returned again. Yet it no longer felt peaceful, it felt haunted. Ayesha walked upstairs without remembering the climb. Imran's old room had remained untouched all these years. She pushed the door open. Dust danced in the pale light. His jacket still hung behind the door. She pressed her face into it. The scent had faded long ago. Only fabric remained. Morning arrived quietly, gray and heavy. By noon, the news had spread everywhere. Reporters gathered outside. Headlines exploded across screens. Local man confessed to 12-year-old crime after accidental voice message. The city devoured the story hungrily. Strangers argued about guilt and fate. Some called it justice. Others called it tragedy. Devars were sent to the river. The water was dark, reluctant to give up its secrets. Hours passed. Then a crane lifted something rusted from the depths. A crushed vehicle. Time had eaten its color. Mud clung to every surface. Ayesha watched from the bank, wrapped in a borrowed coat. Cold wind cut through the fabric. When they opened the trunk, the world seemed to stop breathing again. An officer approached her gently. You may not want to see this. But she stepped forward anyway, because love demands witness, because truth demands eyes. Tears slid down her face as she whispered, "I found you, Imran." The river flowed on as if nothing had happened, as if it had not guarded a secret for over a decade. Days later, the house felt unfamiliar, too large for one person. Every corner echoed with memories now poisoned by betrayal. At night, sleep refused to come. When it did, it brought the same dream. Water closing overhead, hands pounding from inside a trunk, a voice calling her name from beneath the surface. Weeks turned into months. The trial began. Hamza confessed to everything. No defense, no excuses, only the truth, raw and unforgiving. Baba aged rapidly inside the courtroom. His shoulders collapsed inward, as if crushed by invisible weight. One afternoon, as testimony droned on, Hamza asked to speak. The room stilled. He searched for Ayesha in the crowd. Their eyes met briefly. "I sent that message to my father," he said hoarsely. "I wanted to confess that night, but fear still owned me." He swallowed hard. "That accident was the first moment I killed someone." His voice broke. "The second was every day I looked into her eyes and stayed silent." Ayesha closed her eyes, not to forgive, only to endure. Outside, winter sunlight stretched across the courthouse steps. Life continued moving around her. Cars passed. People laughed somewhere far away. The world had not stopped. It never does. That evening, she returned home and noticed the phone still resting where it had been that night. Charged. Quiet. Ordinary. One accidental message. One careless tap, and a family had shattered beyond repair. She picked it up slowly. For a long moment, she simply listened to the silence. Years later, Ayesha still remembered the exact sound of that notification, because some noises never stop echoing. The house had been sold, the nameplate removed, yet the memories refused to leave her. Hamza spent his life behind iron bars, replaying one mistake that no apology could erase. Baba grew quieter with time, as guilt slowly drained the strength from his voice. Imran was finally laid to rest, but closure did not feel the way people promised it would. Sometimes justice arrives, yet it carries grief along with it. On certain rainy nights, Ayesha would pause whatever she was doing and listen to the storm. For a brief second, she could almost hear that message playing again. All it took was one accidental tap, one forgotten recording, one truth rising from the dark. And she learned that secrets do not stay buried forever. They wait patiently for the right moment to be heard.